Hi, and welcome to the Love How Deep podcast with Brian and Heather Mayer. Our purpose is to equip married couples like you with resources that rely on the transformative power of God's Word to strengthen your relationship.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Love How Deep podcast. We are so thrilled and excited to continue to bring these episodes to you. We really hope that we are providing a lot of substance to these episodes and great topics and things that are relevant.
I hope so. I hope this stuff really helps everybody out there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think today's episode is going to be like the others in that it is going to be a very important subject that we're going to be talking about. We are going to be talking all about tithing today. So it's all about money.
Yeah, let's talk about money.
Yeah, and we know from a lot of experience that money issues can be a big deal for couples.
That can be really tricky to deal with. I guess finances and money in marriages. With all the couples that we've worked with, money can be a struggle.
That's right, and it can be because you don't have enough. Sometimes for some people, it's you have too much, and it causes problems. And other times, it might be situations of how you were raised.
Right.
You know, if money was looked at differently.
Right. It goes to that whole who's a spender, who's a saver, who's spending, $300 on something without speaking to their spouse about it and creating more debt, or I don't know. The list can go on and on, the things that we've heard from other couples and experienced ourselves. And money's a big one. And then when it comes to tithing, so many times we just say, nope, I can't afford to do that. I don't want to do that. Why do I need to do that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues surrounding tithing too.
That's right.
But so it's a command from God.
It is. It is. It is. And we're going to talk about why tithing matters and what it means. And then we'll talk a lot too about really tithing it's so much deeper than just a money issue. It's trusting in God.
That is what it comes down to. Yeah. Absolutely. So the word tithe means a tenth. And so, the whole principle of tithing is that you're going to give back to God a tenth of what you've earned. It's an Old Testament tithing principle. In Leviticus 27:30, it says, a tithe of everything from the land belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. And so it's actually a holy act that we're doing in bringing a portion of our income to Him. And the way we do that, of course, is through the church. And I think that just shows God that we're trusting Him. I think it shows that we're believing He's going to provide using the remaining 90% to cover all of our bills, to allow us to use the money towards fun things, to be able to give to others, to go out to eat, to afford your groceries, or, what have you. But trusting that He's going to stretch that 90% more than you can stretch the 100%. And that's just a huge, thing with trusting in God, that He's going to do that.
Yeah. And if you can shift your perspective and realize that it's really all God's to begin with.
That is true.
And all He's saying is, just give me 10%.
Yeah, He says, just do it.
But if you look at it from the other lens of like, well, it's all mine, and wow, I've got to give you 10%. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. I don't know that I can do that. So,
right.
So, and one other thing I wanted to say real quick is that a lot of people sometimes will say, oh yeah, I tithe 3%. And just like you said, that's not the definition.
$10 in the offering.
That's not actually technically a tithe. I guess that would be an offering.
Right, that's an offering.
Which is good.
That's a separate thing where you bring your tithes and offerings.
Yep.
So your tithe is your 10%. Your offering is an above and beyond thing. Like I think about our church, they will take a special offering for a missionary or something else that's going on. With, around the world, or it's a different ministry. They, we're collecting money for that, whatever it is, that is above and beyond your tithe, giving that offering for that. So we're not really talking about that. We're actually talking about that command of tithing in the Bible. And
That's good.
Malachi 3:10 says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty. I mean, He's telling you, go ahead, test Him. I mean, He doesn't tell us anywhere else in the Bible to test Him, but in this He does.
That's right.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen the goodness of God through tithing, even when I felt like I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Why would I do this? I can't afford it, you know?
Yeah.
But he says, test me.
That's right.
And he's going to come through.
It's good. And so I want to talk about giving from a joyful heart. So yes, definitely, like you said, Heather, tithing is a commandment, but God does want us to tithe cheerfully, not reluctantly.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah. And it's, it's not supposed to be drudgery. It is supposed to be, here it is, God, I'm laying this at your feet, at your altar. Thank you for everything that you've done for me in my life.
Yeah.
And this is just, I guess, a little bit of thanks that I can give. So I'm going to be joyful about it. And, it says that in 2 Corinthians 9:7, it says that each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver.
I think that's so important that it is about our attitude as well. You don't want to say, okay, fine, I'll tithe because the church is telling me to, they want my money, or because my spouse is telling me to, fine, I'll do it. Your attitude has so much to do with tithing as it does with anything else that you're doing in your life. I don't know, your attitude can make it great or it can really mess it up.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to think about
right.
there.
And I have to say, when we first got married, or probably even when we were dating, maybe I should go back to that.
Yeah, it was when we were dating.
I probably did not have a joyful or cheerful heart, but also it was because it was really not modeled for me what it was like to tithe. But I remember, I would give my $10, $20 or whatever, and I just felt like I just don't think I can do any more than that for lots of reasons. And you and I had lots of conversations about that.
We did.
We had to talk about our upbringings. You had said what, when you first started to get an allowance, what were you asked to do with that?
Well, I earned $1 a week allowance, and my parents would give it to us in change so that we could tithe 10 cents.
Oh, so they gave you 10 dimes, I'm assuming, or something like that.
Something like that, yes. And then they would, make sure that we do that. They kind of, they would ask, did you give your tithe? But we were children also. And do children understand it? Do they want to do it? I think it's something that you learn to do. And the older you get, the more you understand, why you do it and how that connects you closer to God, builds that trust. Because when you're an adult and you have $100 and you have to give 10 of that to the church, to God, or $1,000 or 10,000, you're giving a tenth, it becomes much larger. And I think that hurts a little bit more. But I was raised doing that. And so I had that to fall back on. I'm like, well, it's my habit. It's what I do. I get my paycheck and I'm going to tithe because it's what I'm supposed to do. And I know it's a command from God where you weren't taught that growing up.
Right.
And I remember us having those conversations and you would say, well, God understands I put $50 in today or I don't mean to say it like, make it sound bad or whatever, but you just felt like, nah, this is good enough and I don't need to do that. And this is like, and there was also talk of, how do I know the church is going to do what they say they are going to do with my money?
Right.
That was a big thing too.
That's right. And we're going to talk in a little bit about some common sort of fears and things that people struggle with that you listening might be struggling with. But I will say that tithing together for us has really increased our faith as a couple. There's been, I guess, just years now of seeing God work in that and just really how he's just taking care of us. And that's something that I had to learn and kind of catch up to and maybe just see it happen a little bit. But, taking that first step of faith was really important.
That is huge. And, I have been in times of my life broke and just, not even working because of illness and just, when I was single and didn't have money. And when I would pay all of my bills, I would have $40 left. And I'm going to tithe on everything that I brought in that month. Like, how can I afford to do that? I can't, like, I could look at that. I can't afford to do that. However, I did it anyway out of obedience to God. And it was my attitude. I never thought I'm going to withhold my tithe on this. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with a joyful heart because attitude is everything.
Yeah.
And God took care of me through all of those times of only having $40 left to carry me through the entire month.
Right.
To buy groceries, to, for gas money, like whatever it was. It was like, that's all I had. But I never went without.
Yep.
God took care of it. It's a miracle.
And I think that was very helpful for me to see and to hear from you and to know that you have so little, but yet somehow it works.
I never thought about it that way. That we were dating during some of that time, and you saw how I would only have $40, and I wasn't even working at the time, and because of illness, and there's a check in the mail from someone who knew what I was going through.
That's right.
Or just little things like that. You just never know how God is going to provide for you in that. So I don't know. I just urge people.
Yeah.
Try it. Test him in this.
Yep.
Know he's going to carry you through. Have that appropriate, joyful attitude about it, and say, God, I trust you. Here you go.
That's right. But we are going to talk now, I think, a little bit about some common struggles that people have with tithing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, for me, I had financial uncertainty.
That's
just
a big one.
Did not know.
Probably for those that are listening, could be that way too.
I think so many of us have been in that situation. We understand that we are not sitting on this side of the microphone, just independently wealthy and never having a care in the world when it comes to money. No, that's that's most of our marriage. I would say we were paycheck to paycheck, and there's that financial uncertainty when things happen. A car breaks down, whatever. Yeah,
there can be things externally out in the world. Like you and I have been married since the housing crisis happened in 2008. The stock market dropped just a year or two later after that. And then we have COVID, and people were losing their jobs. Obviously, we were blessed, not happening, but, or some health concerns, or we've decided one of us to go back to school. And now all of a sudden we've got one income. So, again,
we've been through it.
Yeah. And I'm sure, again, you that are listening, there's always this potential for financial uncertainty that you've probably gone through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to trusting that God is going to carry you through all of that.
Right.
Another struggle is just not trusting that the church is going to do what they say they're going to do with your tithe.
Which I had that one.
You did. Yeah. That was a big discussion that we had. You said, how do I know that they're going to do what they say, that they're going to give it to the missions, that they're going to, help these people, or, pay for that, or just whatever it was. And I remember saying, that's not our concern. We're giving it to God. We're not giving it to the pastor. We're not giving it to the church. We're giving it to God. And we're saying that, God, we're bringing this back to you. And if the church chooses to do something financially that is not right, if they're, doing something wrong with that money, that's not on you. We can't control it. We're just giving it and trusting that God is going to take care of us because we did our part. And if the church is choosing to do something wrong, immoral with that money, that's on them, and God will take care of them. He will do whatever he needs to do there. And so you give it and you let it go. I think about if we gave our child $20 for, as a gift or whatever, we gave her money for her birthday, or because she's going to go out with some friends, here's $20 or $50 or whatever. They're going to the mall, they're going to dinner, whatever. We're not going to have her come back to us and answer questions of what did you do with the money? What did you buy? How much was it? Let me see the receipt. We gave it as a gift. When you give something as a gift, you're out of control with what they do with it.
That's right.
It's not for you to determine that or to question it.
That's right.
I don't know. I hope that kind of helps our listeners understand, giving a gift and bringing something to God. You're giving that as a gift to him. So.
Yeah. And I think giving it as a gift also releases you from being all tangled up in a bunch of anxiety, wondering, again, how's this being used? What's going on? Should I ask for it back? Should I, you just give it and you release it and you go on about your day,
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's also another fear of just not having enough. And I mean, I'm going to tell y'all, I was there. When all I had was $40. Like, what if my car breaks down? What if I don't have enough gas? What if I don't have toilet paper? Like, what if I have to tell my friend, no, I can't go to dinner with y'all because I don't have enough money. Yeah, let me tell y'all that. I mean, that's kind of an embarrassing thing to have to admit that you don't have the money to do something, but it is also a reality. And, me personally, I'm not going to go into debt over stuff like this. And so, you don't want to rely on credit cards to financially carry you through. So that, getting back to that fear of not having enough, that is a real thing. And I think that relying on God, trusting that He's going to carry you through, is the thing that we have to do. We have to say, God, I know you're gonna do it. You're gonna stretch my dollar. You're gonna stretch my 90 cents to last me for whatever I need, like whatever it is. Proverbs 3:9-10 says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing. And you're like thinking, well, I don't have a barn. I don't have crops or whatever. It is your money. Like, this is what people were, in Proverbs, during that time. They're farmers out there, and they're bringing their foods and their eggs or their chickens or whatever it is that is their livelihood, their animals. That's what they're bringing. Us, we're bringing our money. And so when it says that barns will be overflowing, that is telling you God is going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about that. Does it mean that money's never going to be tight? No. Does it mean that we need to be responsible with what's left? Yes. That's probably a whole other podcast episode of being financially in a good place and budgeting and things like that. That's another episode. But trusting that God is going to stretch what you have left to carry you through.
Yeah. And I would say, just real quick here, you may see pastors on television, or maybe you even have a pastor that talks about tithing and the importance of it. And I want to say, if you ever hear someone say, this is exactly what you are going to get from tithing, say, because I've heard this said before, send in $1,000 and you'll probably end up getting $10,000 in the mail or something. And it's like, no, that's not the point of this.
Send in $10,000 and God's going to bring you a new car this month.
Right. Don't listen to that. That's not, God will bless you, and it's up to God as to how that's going to happen. We, as men and women, we have no idea what that means specifically. All we can do is look in His Word and know that He's going to bless us somehow, some way, but He doesn't want us to do it for that reason. He wants us to have a clean and a pure heart when we do tithe, and then when He sees that and knows that, He will bless us in whatever way He wants to do it. So now you might be thinking, oh, thank you so much for all of this. This has been great. But can you kind of give me some nuts and bolts and help me? Because maybe you're thinking, I want to start tithing, but again, I'm not sure exactly how. There is some fear, not quite sure. So we're going to go through some things, just throw out some helpful tips for you when it comes to tithing.
I think so.
Yeah. The first one I'll give, and if you want to jump in with one, Heather. But I would say, you can start small and build up. I know, again, tithing means 10%, and I get it. That's what we want you to get to. That's what we would love for you on day one to be able to do. Yes. But if you can't, and we've had our pastor say the same thing, it's just, if you want to start at 2% or 3%, but make it a goal to regularly bump that up and push that upward.
Yeah. And don't let that goal be based on, okay, did I make it through this month with only giving 3%? Okay, I made it through and I had money left over. All right, now I'm going to do 4%. But just regularly increase it so that you are at that 10%. And Brian, I remember when we were dating and we had these conversations, I remember you saying, I have been increasing, like, I don't remember what the dollar amount was for you to give a true tithe, 10% tithe, but it was a lot. I mean, you were doing well. It was a lot, and you were just like blown away. Like, I just can't imagine writing a check for that much and giving it to the church. And you said, I'm doing more, and I'm working my way. And by the time we get married, we will be tithing. I will be tithing. We're doing this together as a family. I understand it. And so you did. You worked your way up to it. And, I think that is something that maybe some of you listeners need to do. Just kind of work your way up to it and, give without fear, give with trust,
Yep.
And
that's good.
You might need a budget for your tithing as well. Like, I mean, if you're not creating a budget and knowing where your money's going, that's another episode. We may have already done that. I don't know at this point. We've done so many, but yeah, budget for it.
Yeah.
And give that's your first fruits. Like
right.
Before you start writing the checks, or do we even write checks anymore? No. Before you start going online, paying all of those bills and stuff that are due, set it up through your church. Maybe your church does online giving, or maybe you do write a check for the church. However you do it first. It's your first fruits. But
I
budget
agree
for
with
it.
that. Yes. Make that your first line item, because it'll be so much easier when you make that the first thing that you pay. You'll figure it out. It'll work for you. I would also say, and this is probably the most important one, but
can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Okay. I want to go back to the budgeting thing, because what if you budget first and you give that first? And what if you can't go out to dinner as much? What if you can't go to Starbucks as much?
Well, that stinks.
Think
I'm not going to
about
lie.
how much we spend doing those things. It does stink a little bit. What if you are eating ramen noodles? Hey, you're still eating food, but going to Starbucks, I mean, we all know it's expensive. Like, it's $5, but still it adds up. Like, if we added those things up, again, that whole budgeting thing.
Because I like the foo-foo. You can get something a little
coffee.
cheaper there, but I like the $5 ones.
I mean, So I just wanted to throw that out there, that maybe you don't eat out at the nicer restaurants. Maybe you don't eat out at all.
Yeah.
Maybe you're eating in at home and coming up with some creative meals and making the most out of that.
Right.
But yeah. So just
I remember,
think about that.
when we were growing up, we never really ate out. All of a sudden, this has kind of become a new thing over the last, it seems like 20 or 30 years. So anyway,
Mama
side
cooked
note on that one.
night.
Yep. So this next one is probably the most important thing that we want you to do, but praying. I mean, that really goes without saying with anything that we do in our lives. It's all about praying, which is really connecting with God, listening to his heart, knowing what he wants for us, making commitments as much as we can, again, with a joyful heart, and praying together. If you're not there yet, and one of you is a little bit sort of behind emotionally, or financially, then praying about it, that we get together on the same page, that there's unity in what we need to do. So we can't enforce that enough, or emphasize that enough. Pray, pray, pray.
Right. And when you are giving that money, that tithe to the Lord, we're not talking about praying like, all right, God, I'm giving you $1,000 and I'm believing that you're going to return back to me a car, a new car, a new house, or whatever it is, that my credit card will be paid off. You're not giving to get. You're just giving.
Yeah. And
You're
I think what
giving.
you and I pray about is... Go ahead.
I think, pray over it and just say, God, I'm giving this to you. Thank you that that you do bless me. And I know that you're going to continue to take care of my family. You're going to continue to bless my family. And I'm giving this to you because I love you.
Yep, that's right. You got another one for us? Another tip that we can be practical in how we tithe? I think it's something new. Yeah, I think, all right.
Go ahead, because I'm not sure where you're going on this rabbit trail.
I was hoping you were going to read my mind.
Oh, man.
So one thing that we actually do this is we automate. So you know what? No, we don't truly automate. We do give online. I do make it a point every month to go in and look at our income and say 10% of that goes to the church. So I guess
Yeah, because mine will both of our
right,
incomes vary.
it varies. That's the issue with us. But if your income does not vary, then you could actually automate this and make it a monthly debit. Every day on the first of the month, whatever X amount of dollars comes out, and then
true.
you just kind of set it and forget it. And I guarantee after a few months, you won't even notice it. So
We've heard so many people say that once they started tithing, especially like fully tithing, they didn't miss it. They didn't miss it.
Yeah.
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 And then I guess one other thing is that obedience over perfection.
Oh my gosh. God honors obedience.
Yeah.
I mean, he does in his word. Like if you just dig in and read scriptures and stories about people being obedient to God, like he honors that and he wants that obedience from you. He's not looking for perfection.
Yeah.
God has only one perfect child, and that's Jesus, not us.
Yep.
So we do not have to be perfect in this, but he wants obedience.
I'm glad I don't have to be perfect. Oh, that would be too hard.
But if you miss a month or something, like that's okay. Get back on it the next month, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's obedience.
Right.
That is such a huge key to understand, is just being obedient to God. Yeah. So I think that, that cheerful heart, having that right attitude and being obedient and just doing it and trusting God, like there's so much in that, so many good nuggets.
Yep.
And I think that, with us, there have been times even since we've been married where it's like, okay, we're still going to tithe. All right. It's really getting really hard to tithe, especially if one of us doesn't have a job. That's happened several times in our lives and in our marriage, and, what's going to happen there. And, at one point I was looking for a job and as a teacher, and we were struggling with that. I couldn't, teachers were not being hired. They were being fired because the economy. And we'd also been in a car accident. We were rear-ended. And so then there's that there was just a lot going on. And we were still tithing. We were trusting God to take care of us in all of that. We were, and I, of course, the reason I was out of a job, let me give you backstory, was because I had quit my job by the end of that year. I was like, I'm not signing a new contract. I knew God was telling me it was time to take that step of faith. And so I did it. So we started saving as much money as possible because we knew that the struggle was going to be hard for me to find my next teaching job. And so we had money in savings. We were still tithing through all of that, and letting our little nest egg build up a little bit more for a just in case plan B situation. And God laid it on our hearts to help a friend because they needed some work done around their house, and we wanted to, I think that our hearts were touched. We wanted to be able to help them because we understood the financial struggle that they were in.
Yeah.
And
and
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, under our human power, there was a little bit of this, I don't know about this, but we did feel God prompting us. I mean, we wanted to do it, but then there was this little hesitation, at least in my heart, of like, I don't know.
Oh, for both of us, it was like, can we afford to get, it was several $1,000s of helping them with the need that they had.
Right.
That was really, really hard.
And so, and I know this is not tithing, this is actually giving above and beyond what we're talking about here, but I think we really did want to see what God would do, not necessarily for us, but really for them.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up helping them and, just trusting God is still going to take care of us. We are still tithers, and now we are going above and beyond, and we are giving. And that's really what God wants us to be able to do, And so we helped this friend, and I think that same day I got a job offer. I've been in that job for going on my 14th year now.
Yeah.
You got your largest raise from work ever, and we received a letter in the mail with a what is it called?
Larger insurance payout than we had expected.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, for the car insurance claim. I don't know that all three of those happened that very same day, but I think it was within a couple of days.
It literally was. It was
it
like
was like boom, boom, boom,
mind blown.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that those things would not have happened had we not been obedient with our money? I don't know.
We don't know.
But guess what? I don't want to test God in that to see what negative things could happen.
Yep.
Not interested in that.
And again, we did not do that for those things. We also did not come out of that thinking, oh, wow, look what just happened. I think we need to do this again. And maybe, we'll be able to pull the slot machine lever again on God and the gold coins will fall out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We kept our heart. I really do feel like we kept our hearts pure when we were doing that.
And in that wondering of like, okay, if we give this money, what does that mean for, life happening and disaster happening for us? And what if I don't have a job yet? And God showed us like, hey, you're saving that money for plan B. I don't have a plan B. You don't have a plan B. Right. I am your only plan to trust in me. I mean, there were so many like lessons learned in that situation. I mean, that's probably another podcast. I keep
exactly.
saying that, but it's so,
well,
it's
good.
So
that's why
true.
we can keep going with this thing.
But it's so true. And it's so cool. Like, to see what God does when we fully trust him. And I mean, if you have some kind of a story like that, I would love to hear about that.
Yeah.
Email us or put it, a comment or something. Like we love to see what God does when we trust in him.
Amen. So you got a couple of verses to wrap this segment up?
Yes. Malachi 3:10 says, test me in this and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. So there again, God is saying, test him, just do it. And I love that it's like, he's just going to pour out so much blessing. And in that one, story that we shared with you, like 3 blessings came out of that. That to me, that's a floodgate. And especially with how quickly it happened, it's just amazing. Luke 6:38 says, give and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. Does that mean it's going to happen right then? No, but keep doing it. Oh my goodness, keep doing it. It's so good.
Amen on that. So we are going to go ahead and wrap up this episode, but just remember that tithing really is faith and trust in God. I mean, that's ultimately what this comes down to. It's really not about the money. It's about how much faith and how much trust that you have in God.
Absolutely.
And so really our call to action to you is to pray. But don't pray too long. Take some action. Start tithing or start small if you need to, but you can get there. So
just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's about it. We do have a free resource. Would you like me to
go for it.
Mention that? So,
yes.
Yeah, I think this one will kind of goes along a little bit with what we've been talking about, but we have a goal setting. We call it the 101 workbook. It's free. It's available now. It's a resource for you. It's a PDF basically where it will help you set personal, couple, and family goals. And again, maybe based upon what we talked about, maybe tithing ends up being a goal of yours through this exercise that you're going to do. It also includes action steps to help you get started. So with that, we thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your time. We can't wait for the next episode. It's going to be a good one. We won't tell you what it is. You're just going to have to tune in. But thank you so much for joining us. Take care until next time.